in touch with his feelings. He's like some kind of sensitive caveman. Why is it, do you think, that women are more attracted to Tommy than they are to Rand? The obvious thing is he's a rock star, he's a bad boy, women like a bad boy. No, we don't. He lets people walk all over him in the name of kindness. This man needs some balls and some boundaries, not necessarily in that order. Has his experience as a victim turned him into a bully? Who are we talking about? You'll have to wait and see. But what are we talking about? We're talking about Pam and Tommy, episode 7. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Love and Fandom, where we believe that the relationships we see on the screen help us understand ourselves at a deeper level and have a better relationship with ourselves and each other. I'm Cheryl Muir, relationship expert and professional fangirl and full-time nerd. We're going to talk about 3 things today. One is Rand, one is Pammy, and the other is Tom. So we're covering all 3 of them today and what they're really going through in terms of their identity. Stick around for when we talk about Tommy, because that's going to be at the end. And we're going to talk about his sexual magnetism and why it is women are attracted to him instead of Rand. I'm going to ask you some questions around that. As always, there will also be journaling prompts at the end, so stick around for that. You're a bottom, a beta, a chump, a bitch, and 27 grand won't change that. It's just who you are. Holy shit, was that a quote from Tommy. He was talking about Rand. Now, this is interesting because he's sort of right? He's sort of right. Not that he was right to say it, but certainly what he's saying has accuracy. We know that Rand has had an extremely traumatic upbringing, and what he's doing is he's going through the world pretending like he's the victim, pretending like other people are assholes, when actually he doesn't have any boundaries. He's not saying no. He gives that analogy of people at the intersection taking the left turn. Well, guess what? You don't have to do that. You don't have to let people pass. And also, if you're letting people through at the intersection or in any way this applies to you, if you're letting people through and it pisses you off, then you're not doing that from a genuine place, and that is overstepping your own boundaries. You're not having boundaries, and that's why you become pissed off. So he thinks people are taking advantage of his kindness, but actually he needs to grow some balls and have some boundaries, not necessarily in that order, and really say no. We know he's spiritual. I actually think his spiritual beliefs are quite beautiful, but what he's doing is he's actually spiritually bypassing, right? He's bypassing the pain that he felt. We saw in one of the earlier episodes, in one of the first 3 episodes, that he had an extremely traumatic childhood. We see a childhood memory where he was with his father, and his father was definitely abusive, certainly neglectful, and his mother was obviously engaging in this battle where he was the pawn between his mum and his dad. He was probably neglected quite severely. Because of what he went through, that shaped his identity, and he's kind of continued on. He's let people continue to treat him that way, and I understand, I completely understand. And his work now is to stop with the spiritual bypassing, and instead of doing all this cosmic stuff and karma and blah blah blah, what he needs to do is he needs to feel his feelings. He needs to go into treatment, go into therapy. He needs to heal from his past. He needs to feel the anger and the rage instead of projecting it outwards and projecting it onto the world. We see this so many different times in so many different areas of life. Think about a situation you might have seen in your life or in the world where someone has been like this and they have this rage, they're projecting it outwards instead of dealing with how they feel. He needs to take his power back, and he doesn't do that by becoming some violent mafia enforcer, which is what we saw at the end of episode 7. He does that by healing and by focusing on him and his goals and who he wants to become. Our identity isn't fixed. We can choose who we become in the world. I know that's really trite and glib and cliche, and I know life is hard. I know we've all been through a lot, and we get to take back control of that narrative. Let's talk about Pam. She is a bad bitch. She is a badass. I fucking love her. By the way, incidentally, I'm not sure if I'm more attracted to her or Tommy, and if I didn't know I was bi before watching this series, I certainly know now. She's smoking hot, and she's really sweet. She's got this really sweet heart, and she's also really strong. But here's what she has to do because of her public persona, because of the persona she's created, because of who she feels she needs to be to other people in public. She's beginning to say no, but now she's doing it in a way where she's kind of softening it with a smile, and that can be okay, but it seems like she's doing it and she doesn't really want to, and here are some examples. At the press conference, "I like a man who listens, Vance," with a smile. She calls out the creepy man who's asking all the questions. She says, "This tape was stolen from our house. We were the victims of a burglary," and she's really, really firm, and he says, "Got it." And she smiles and goes, "Oh, great." The amazing monologue at Jay Leno. Then she realized everyone's gone silent, and she goes, She's having to soften it. How many times have you been there where you've wanted to say no and you're frightened of people saying you're aggressive, so you soften it with a smile? I would love to see her express herself in the same way, but not soften it and just stand firm in that, because she's got it, she's strong, she can do it. And she also does it behind closed doors. She says to their lawyer, they can't actually say that sluts don't get to decide what happens to pictures of their body, so they say something else instead. She says that behind closed doors, she's firm, she's unapologetic, and I was cheering for her so hard in that scene. She sets a boundary with Tommy. She completely changes the dance between them. And she basically says, look, don't beat anyone up. Don't go and beat up Jay Leno. I need you here. And to be fair to him, he agrees. He honours her and he supports her and he's there for her, and it's so beautiful. So what I see here is actually Pamela's relationship with her public persona and how she's perceived and what she feels is expected of her. Tommy's sexual magnetism. This is so funny. There was a quote from Erica at the end where she basically says that he's so in touch with his feelings. He's like some kind of sensitive caveman. So let's think about that for a second. Why is it, do you think, that women are more attracted to Tommy than they are to Rand? The obvious thing is he's a rock star, he's a bad boy, women like a bad boy. No, we don't. But here's what's really interesting. He's very, very masculine. He protects his woman. He loves his woman. He fiercely is there for her and has got her back. How safe would you feel with a man like that? How safe would you feel knowing that someone has your back and protects you? Notwithstanding some of the stuff that allegedly went off in real life, again, I'm purely focusing on what we're seeing on the screen and in the series. How safe would you feel with Rand? I wouldn't feel safe with him. I would feel like I had to step up and I had to do everything because I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't trust him to follow through. I wouldn't trust him to say no. I wouldn't trust him to protect me. I know that's very un-PC and you're going to be like, Cheryl, I can protect myself. Of course you can. Of course you can. But don't you want your partner to be there for you? Don't you want them to fight your corner? Do you want to be carrying all of the weight? I certainly don't. There are so many other reasons too. He has this very dark masculine energy. I talked about that in the Loki video. You can watch that up above. There's a lot to be said for Sebastian Stan here. He brought the same kind of energy to Winter Soldier and Bucky, and maybe that's a separate video, I don't know. But just look at what makes him attractive in comparison to Rand. Tommy is also a man that's driven. He's a man that's been successful, whereas Rand's a guy who kind of doesn't have his shit together and he's kind of ambling along. Don't know about you, but I don't think that's hot. Journaling prompts. I have some journaling prompts for you. These might feel a little bit edgy. I understand life can be hard. We've all been through lots of different things that have been very, very challenging, and that's not our fault. But now we get to take that back and decide how things are going to go for us. So here are the prompts. Do you have the identity of the loser, the outsider, or the downtrodden? How would it feel to be the winner, the person who's thriving? What do you want to do now to become her? How does she walk and talk and think and act? What does she believe? What does she say yes to? What does she say no to, etc.? How are your boundaries? Who has taken advantage of your kindness and how did that feel? How can you say no? Why do you think Tommy is more attractive than Rand? What does this tell you about what turns you on in a partner, and what does it tell you about what turns you off? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave me a thumbs up and comment below and let me know what you thought about this episode. What have I missed? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? I love to have a conversation down in the comments, so let's get going. If you want more from me, subscribe, ring the bell for the notifications to know next time we have a new video. I will see you next time on Love and Fandom, and remember, you are absolutely worthy of love.